Well, welcome everyone. Grateful for all of you coming and spending the evening with us or part of the evening. We're grateful for you. We plan to go over everything to do with the ECHO Flask and to do with why it is absolutely the best in the industry. So we just want you to, have confidence and be able to know why Echo is different. We're going to go over some things that maybe we don't normally go over when it comes to these webinars because it's more education. But we are going to be focusing tonight on technology. We're going to be focusing on quality. We're going to be focusing on all the things that make Echo the premier brand of hydrogen products in the world and the highest quality and highest performing in the world. So I'll go ahead and get started. So thank you everyone for coming. We'll go ahead and get started with the FDA disclaimer. As you know, we always do this. We're not trying to treat or cure a disease with tonight's presentation. And so we just want you to be aware of that. This is me. I'm the founder of Echo Water, Echo Technologies, and I think we'll go over in a minute. Everyone's heard my story, and so you know or should know how I got into hydrogen, how I became aware of hydrogen, and how Echo was able to start many years ago. But I am an author, a co-author. I am a lecturer. I am passionate about preventing disease models. And the thing I'm the most proud of is being a husband of 31 years and having my wife and I in a wonderful relationship and best friends and wanting to make sure that we have the best life ever. So where my wife is really the reason Echo Water is the result of healing my wife 20 years ago. We are still happily married, 31 years of marriage, and we have a 22-year-old son, Jackson. So this is life now, right? Wonderful life after hydrogen. So let's talk about hydrogen. Let's talk about products. Let's get into it to really understand the reality of what we call the dark side of the hydrogen water bottles. So this all started a few years ago. And, life is funny that you're growing companies, you're building a brand, you're wanting to have success in helping people heal. And that was purely our focus. And of course, there's a gentleman named Joe Rogan, and he talked about our products when he was doing a podcast with Gary Brecka 2 years ago, a little over 2 years ago now. But 2 years ago, he was doing a podcast and he talked about Echo Water. Now, when you're growing a company, you think, oh my gosh, that's the most incredible thing ever. Well, guess what happened? Something we didn't anticipate. All of a sudden, all these scam products, these cheap products coming out of Asia would flood the market. And they're being sold as hydrogen products, but they weren't actually hydrogen products. They were electrolysis-based products. And so, as you can see here, I want to go through each of these things. Where it says technology matters, it is extremely important that you only choose the right technology because not all hydrogen bottles are created equal. Not all bottles are appropriate. So you can see on here 99% of the bottles on the market being sold on Alibaba, being sold on Amazon.com are not really hydrogen devices. So what do I mean by this? Well, to be considered a appropriate hydrogen device, you need to be able to use distilled water and still dissolve half a part per million of hydrogen gas into the water. That's what it means when we say it's a hydrogen bottle. So with the ECHO Flask, for example, we can use distilled water, we can use reverse osmosis, we can use purified, we can use filtered, whatever it is, and we will always produce the same amount of hydrogen. When it comes to these other products, if you put pure water in them, like right here on the screen, if they are an electrolysis-based product, then they will not be able to produce hydrogen if you put distilled water or reverse osmosis water into the device. You need minerals in water if you have electrolysis. With a proton exchange membrane technology like we use, you don't need conductivity in the water, or you don't need the minerals. In traditional electrolysis devices, you do. So the whole purpose of this conversation is, just because you have a bottle sitting in front of you with bubbles coming up, it doesn't mean that's hydrogen. It doesn't mean that it's all beneficial. With ECHO devices, the only bubbles you see are H2 gas. But in the other products on the market, it can be who knows what. It's like a science experiment or a chemistry experiment. It could be ozone, it could be chlorine, it could be hydrogen, it could be oxygen. Who knows what it is? It depends on what's in the water. And so, unfortunately, just because you see bubbles doesn't mean it's hydrogen. In many cases, again, 99% of the time, it's not hydrogen. It's chlorine, hypochlorous acid, ozone, who knows? And so this is very dangerous to not know. So first and foremost, you would never want to purchase a product that doesn't have certification that it has met the IHSA standards. First and foremost, you would never want to buy anything that's hydrogen that hasn't met those standards. But what I want to talk to you about is the technology, because if it's electrolysis, then you won't be getting the chlorine, the ozone, and the oxygen out. It'll all be in the bottle, mixed all up with you drinking it. So I'll turn my camera on real quick. You can see right in front of me right here is a little bottle of chlorine reagent, right up here. That I take with me. I'm traveling right now in Sacramento because I'm speaking at a fitness conference. I already spoke today. And so our ECHO booth is here at a show called Idea Fit. And the reality is I carry this everywhere I go, because undoubtedly when I'm at the booth, people will come up, not all the time, but every show, maybe once or twice, and say, oh my gosh, I bought this bottle. Does it have chlorine in it? Because people know that I'll test it right there. And right here with this little reagent that you can buy in any store, this will test chlorine. And when you have chlorine in the water, it will turn yellow. So I'll put a few drops. I'll have them pour a little bit out into a cup of their bottle, and I'll pour some drops in, and it'll turn yellow. And they'll freak out and be like, what does that mean? And I'll say, it means there's chlorine in your water. And they're like, what? How does it get in there? And I said, because the bottle itself makes chlorine. This is what you bought. You didn't really buy a hydrogen generator. You bought a chlorine maker, and that's what it's going to be better at than hydrogen. And of course, they freak out. And then I show them our flask, or what I used to do with the ECHO Go Plus, and I would pour some water out. I would pour the drops in, and it was clear because we never produce chlorine in our devices. And so, again, this is something you can test by getting a reagent. I happen to take it with me everywhere I go, so I'm able to show people. And I've had people who spent $300 on a bottle. I've had people who have spent $70, $100 on a bottle, and they make chlorine. So please understand, it's not based on the price that you pay. It's based on the technology that is in the device you purchased. Okay. So over on the right, you can see toxic byproducts, ozone, chlorine, chloramines, heavy metal leaching off the electrodes. Depending on what the electrodes are made out of, you can have heavy metal leaching. Now, let's get to quality, because in our devices, in the ECHO devices, we use a technology called proton exchange membranes. Now, that's like saying, in my car, I have an engine. So all vehicles have an engine. Some are electric, some are gas, some are a combination of electric and gas. Now, within all the engines, you have so many different aspects of the engine, how the cylinders are made, how the gas is ignited, how efficient, what kind of gas you're supposed to use, all these different things based on which engine and what manufacturer of car you have. All of them have engines. So you could say that's a combustion engine, but they're so different in the way their compression is, the way that they convert fuel into energy, or how fast they can turn those wheels with a large or small engine. All these things are important. Well, guess what? We have a proton exchange membrane in our system, but that doesn't mean that because someone else says I have a proton exchange membrane, that it's the same. That's what you need to understand. Just like there's vast differences in quality of engines and performance, there is vast difference between an ECHO product and anything else in the world. We have patents on all of our products. And so understand that there are proprietary aspects of our products, even though we have a proton exchange membrane and another company might have a proton exchange membrane. You don't know which actual membrane they're using. You don't know what kind of metal is used in their electrodes. You don't know. And so how is that important? Let's talk about that for a second. If the proton exchange membrane itself does not last, you can have leaching of heavy metals. You can have problems in your system. You can end up having oxygen and ozone and other stuff coming into your water, even though it's a proton exchange membrane. If the membrane itself is not high quality and is not appropriate, you can have contaminants. Now, you also have these mechanisms that are called proton exchange membrane. You could have different metals used in them. You can have some that don't handle pressure, as well as other proton exchange membrane assemblies. We're talking now about the assembly. How well is that membrane manufactured? How well is it vulcanized into the assembly? Will it withstand pressure sufficient to have high hydrogen concentration? These are the things that you want to understand when it comes to the device that you're going to spend your money on and invest in your health. How important is your health? How important is your family's health? Well, I know it's important to you, or you wouldn't be here. And so I want to educate you on the fact that every product in the world is manufactured by somebody. And depending on the quality of the manufacturing makes a whole huge difference in the outcome. Now, we manufacture the ECHO Flask in our facility that we control in the Philippines. We don't manufacture it in China. We manufactured our other bottles in China, and they were very good. But we raised the bar even more when we went to manufacturing our own products in a factory in the Philippines. The management team is excellent from Japan. And all the R&D, all the development, we did. Our staff did. And so understand that we didn't just go grab a product that was being made, stick our logo on it, and sell it to you. We developed it. It took 1.5 years to develop the flask. It took 1.5 years to make sure it was the best of the best in the world. So understand that this is why when we have had our flask tested over and over, that there has never been anything introduced other than hydrogen gas. And we have tested the flask up to 200 psi. That's crazy pressure in our bottle or in our flask that it has to withstand to be able to produce sufficient hydrogen. Now, when you run the flask on a 10-minute cycle, you're going to have at least 64 psi. So it's been tested at 200. So obviously it's going to last a long time. But it hits 64 psi. And that's critical because that's how you get the hydrogen gas to the levels that we do. So understand that you will never have toxic elements unless you put toxic water into the flask. But the flask itself will never put anything other than hydrogen gas into the water. So if you are buying a proton exchange membrane technology and it's a poor membrane and a poor manufacturer, you can end up with heavy metals and chemicals in your water. You can end up with lead, for example, which obviously is going to have hormone disruption in the body and other things. So keep in mind that it is really important for you to scrutinize and purchase a product, because after all, you're drinking this water. You're drinking it, which means it's going into your body. Whatever is in that water is now inside of you. And it's really important that you don't bring anything harmful into your body. So what are we talking about when we say harmful? Ozone. We don't want ozone in our body. Ozone is great for killing bacteria and killing things, but we don't want to drink in all the time ozone. You have a 33% increased risk of bladder cancer. This is 30 studies showing this. If you have a poor quality proton exchange membrane device, this is what we're talking about. Ozone, 33% increase of bladder cancer, 15% of colorectal cancer, chlorines and chloramine, which gives you what? 59% increase of proximal colon cancer, 79% increase of chronic myeloid leukemia. I mean, who wants this stuff? After all, aren't you buying a hydrogen product to improve your health, not reduce your health? So please understand, we are committed to you 100% that we will only ever sell you a product that is not toxic and that will improve your health and not simultaneously destroy or reduce your health. You can see poor quality proton exchange membranes can release heavy metals. Here we're seeing that there is no safe level of lead. And yet, the smallest amount of lead can be responsible for big problems, which is a 48% increase of chronic kidney disease. Any amount of lead, even 0.6%. If you understand that it can have an increase of 121% increase of reduced kidney filtration, well, holy cow, our life is so toxic. Our world is so toxic. We need our kidneys. We don't need to have a decreased ability of our kidneys due to inflammatory response or other things that will cause our kidneys not to work well. This is the last thing on earth we want. And even 3.9% reduction of IQ for low-level exposure, including steadily with higher levels and longer exposure. Remember, we're talking about lead exposure here. This is going to lower the IQ of an individual. And so again, poor products in the hydrogen space that we're buying lead to these kind of problems. Gary Brecka talked about how he was poisoned by a bath unit sold by another company. And they found it had 3,000% higher amount of arsenic in that water than he should ever have been exposed to. Now, I helped him by giving him a product that can get those heavy metals out of his system. And he told me the other day, your product worked. My heavy metal levels are reduced thanks to you. Now, guess what? We would never, ever sell a product that would do that. But clearly, other companies have no issue with testing their products to know if they're adding heavy metals to water. As he said in his webinar when he talked about being poisoned, he said that product was designed for welding. Well, hello. Why on earth does a product that's designed for welding end up in a bathtub making bath water that you're going to soak in? And clearly, we all know that you absorb things through your skin. Otherwise, a lotion wouldn't work. It would just sit on top of your skin. But clearly, we absorb things through our skin because lotion does work. And so we need to understand that when you're laying in a bathtub, whatever contaminants are in that water are going into you. And so it's really important that we don't just naively purchase products. We need to make sure we're buying from a company that has done testing and that's not going to harm us, because it's a lot harder to get stuff out of your body once it's in your body than it is to keep it out. Now, if it is an H2, what is it? Well, I hopefully I haven't scared you too bad, but I want to scare you just enough so that you are skeptical enough to where you only buy from companies that have proven over time to give you products that don't harm you. Don't try to do what some people do and get cheap and then end up paying a price. Not always does cost equal quality, but in many cases, you do get what you pay for. We kind of know that saying. Here we know that many of the cheap bottles don't produce therapeutic levels of hydrogen. In other words, more than half a part per million. Some merely generate bubbles because it's ordinary electrolysis. Who knows what is in those bubbles? It could be heavy metals. It could be who knows what. But it definitely is not hydrogen when you're using pure water. And so when you're using pure water so that you know you're taking water into your body that doesn't have contaminants, then, oh my gosh, you're not going to have hydrogen either. So the catch-22 with these cheap bottles is you have to put crappy water in them to allow them to work. And if you put really good water in them, they won't work. And so it's just a no-win situation. It's a no-win situation. Now, reputable hydrogen water partners like ECHO Water, we're the original, we're the largest, we're the best. We have warranties that last. We have warranties where we will be there. We've already been there. We're 15 years we've been there. And we're going to be there for as long as this world is around and needs hydrogen water. We're going to be manufacturing the best of the best. We're going to be innovating. We're going to be there to support your warranties. We're going to be there to take care of you. And we're going to make sure that we have excellent staff like we currently do that will take care of you. So we do have the best industry warranties. We have customer service that is awesome. And we have third-party lab testing with H2 Analytics, with NSF, with IHSA certifications, all these types of ISO certifications on our products. We have all these things lab tested so that you can rest assured that you're buying a product that you can count on. So why not use these home tests? I do have to say, over the years, there used to be a product called H2 Blue that I helped Tyler LeBaron and I developed this together. And the original company in Japan was Miz, M-I-Z. They originally created the H2 Blue type testing drops. And literally, Tyler and I went over to Japan many, many years ago and asked permission to duplicate their product because it was too expensive to buy from Japan. And they said, yeah, it's fine. We're happy to help you do it. You can produce it. Well, Randy Sharp with H2 Analytics started manufacturing that and then just decided in the last few months that he is not wanting to make it anymore. Now, there's a good reason. It was a good product, but it did have a shelf life. It did create issues because if people didn't use it correctly, then the testing wouldn't be accurate. And I can't tell you how many times people will call up and go, my product isn't working. My device, my machine, my whatever is not working because my H2 Blue reagent says it's not working. And we would tell them, well, it's probably because your H2 blue has gone bad. Well, okay. How do I know then? Well, you could send it to H2 Analytics and they'll test it for you for a nominal fee. And they would do that. And do you know that every single time it wasn't our devices, it was the testing methodology or the testing apparatus itself that was incorrect. So testing from home for hydrogen gas is difficult. You really only, because with H2 blue being gone, you really only have these H2 meters, which are not appropriate. The H2 meters are nothing more than an ORP meter that's had an engineer go in and change the display to read hydrogen instead of ORP. The problem with that, it is not accurate. It is not appropriate. And what do I mean by that? What I mean by that is the only time the ORP measurement could properly chart to hydrogen is if you're using neutral pH water. In other words, you're using pure water, distilled or RO water, for example, and then you're using that kind of water to make hydrogen water. And with that, you may have predictability or accuracy with an handheld hydrogen meter. But the only way now, the only trusted is gas chromatography. This is the only thing that is appropriate to test is a piece of laboratory equipment called a gas chromatography device, the least expensive one being $8,000 that you can purchase. And then still you have to calibrate it and you have to, program it properly and all kinds of stuff. And so it's not plausible to have handheld or home test, whether it's meters or drops or whatever. It's just not plausible to test from home because it's more difficult than it's worth and it's error ridden. I will tell you, it's just error centric. So there's no standardization, there's no certifications on any of these testing meters or testing things. And so you for under $5,000, you're not going to get anything that is appropriate in its ability to test. So what ends up happening is the H2 is inaccurate. And I'll tell you right now, so many meters on the market and so many companies that are making these hydrogen bottles, they're testing with meters and it's completely erroneous numbers. That's never how we test. We use gas chromatography. And so please understand that there is no handheld or home-based testing that you can do. So let's talk about the flask. That's our hero product because it's the number one selling thing that we have. And that's because of the cost, it's because of the price, and the fact that it's so incredibly portable, and it's so dang cool. So what I mean by that is you can take it everywhere you go. It's portable. Doesn't matter where you want to go. You can take it with you. And as long as you have a USB-C charger, which these days is good for iPhones and Android and everything else you got. And so you only need one charger to charge all your stuff. But the ECHO Flask itself is not only beautiful and elegant, it's a statement piece, but it's designed to be dropped from 6 feet. Not that we're telling you, please don't go drop your bottle, but if you do, chances are it will be more apt to survive a fall because we engineered it to do so. But it's a beautiful product, 12-ounce capacity. 8 parts per million. Remember what I said the standard was half a part per million and this says 8 parts per million? That's 16 times the difference. Now, the other products on the market that are electrolysis based can't even do half a part per million. They can't even do half a part per million. And ours is 8 parts per million. You can get to over 8 parts per million. I mean, that clearly should show you the difference, right? That's like if you were comparing engines and one car, can do 80 miles an hour and every other car can only do 15 miles an hour. You'd be like, why on earth would I buy that car that can only go 15 miles? It's going to take me forever to get to work. Well, it's going to take you forever to get the milligrams per liter of hydrogen you would want if you're using these other bottles. And I can't tell you how many people have come to me and said, oh, yeah, I bought that scam product because they were using your videos, Dr. Paul. And I had someone just the other day tell me, I was on TikTok for 2 hours and I saw 3 different companies showing you editing your videos, your podcasts, and using you to sell their crappy bottles. And it makes me sick to my stomach, just being quite transparent with you. That's how dirty these companies are, is they'll use me. Clearly, I'm the founder of ECHO, and yet they'll take my videos, the knowledge I'm giving, and they'll use the goodwill that I've created and the trust that I've built up over almost 20 years in this space to then go sell a junk product that's not going to help people, in fact, could harm people. That's the world we're living in. And so we need to make sure none of our friends and none of our family get scammed and none of our people know. And we should go on their Facebook ads, their TikTok ads, and go, you aren't even showing people that endorse your product. You're showing the guy who started ECHO. Why the heck are you doing this? And so it's just a crazy world that we live in. And really, no one has ever produced something anywhere near the ECHO Flask because it's multiple patents on it. But here we have a product that will never chlorinate your water, will only put hydrogen gas into your water and nothing else. And that's what's beneficial. You do have a 5-year warranty. You do have a USB-C charging. It does meet FDA and IHSA standards. It is certified by H2 Analytics in Nevada. And it has certification from Silver State Analytics in Las Vegas as well, that there are no contaminants coming into the water from our flask, no heavy metals, nothing but hydrogen. And so I want to show you a few videos. There's going to be a couple videos I show you here in a row. And so let's have a little fun. Okay, very good. Now, the next video I'm going to show you is cool as well because it shows some manufacturing, the standards of So hopefully that helps you to see some of the cool imagery there for the manufacturing process and what's happening as we're making the ECHO Flask. Here you can see the PEM technology. This is the proton exchange membrane. You can see on the right where it says typical proton exchange membranes, steel or coated alloys that corrode, break down with repeated use, may release ozone, chlorine, metals into your water, inconsistent hydrogen generation. The ECHO Flask, obviously we're only using platinum coated titanium electrodes, multiple layers of platinum, no degradation over time, no toxic byproducts, industry leading hydrogen output of over 8 parts per million. If you kept using it, it would get higher and higher and higher. It's really important that you understand we use the highest quality proton exchange membranes. We've tested them every which way you can test them, and we only choose the highest quality components going into the ECHO Flask, which is why we end up having the best outcomes. Now, here is the lab report, and that is a gas chromatography I was telling you about that is sitting at H2 Analytics. That's the actual unit. And then the Silver State Laboratories, you can see up top where it showed there was nothing but hydrogen going in the water. And you can see that in 10 minutes, over 6 milligrams per liter of hydrogen, or what we call parts per million, should say 6 parts per million. And on the right, it should say 2.17 milligrams per liter. So that's an error. I want to make sure we point that out. It should say 6.07 parts per million and 2.17 milligrams per liter. And in the 20-minute cycle, it should say 8.25 parts per million and then 2.89 milligrams per liter of hydrogen. So that is what the hydrogen flask, the ECHO Flask, can do and was documented to do from H2 Analytics Laboratory in Las Vegas area, Henderson, Nevada. And again, we document everything that we do. We make sure that we're documenting all of it. Now, the ECHO difference, we want you, hopefully you already understand that there is a difference in ECHO versus other products. And this is what I'm hoping that you understand. And what's the most important difference? It actually works. It actually performs the way it's supposed to. And we don't introduce any contaminants. We don't introduce anything into the water that you're drinking or into your body that can be harmful. I'm going to play this nice little sizzle video.
Why hydrogen water?
Hydrogen water is such a big thing right now. So this is how you hydrate and heal your body.
This is the world's most advanced hydrogen water generator.
The long-awaited ECHO Flask.
First look at the ECHO Flask.
Got my hydrogen water.
That turns regular water into hydrogen-infused water.
Hydrogen water is the best water you can put into the human body.
This is the best hydrogenated water bottle on the market.
We looked at dozens of other hydrogen water companies, and I think they make a very good product.
It is now getting infused with healthy, beautiful hydrogen.
There are 1,200 studies on the benefits of hydrogen water.
Why do you think hydrogen water is like the best?
Hydrogen water has been proven to reduce inflammation, neutralize harmful free radicals, fight oxidative stress, increase mental clarity and physical energy, speed up muscle recovery, improve skin vibrancy, and the list goes on. This could be the simplest yet most effective health decision you can make.
This is going to help with cellular function. This is going to also help with recovery, everything from digestion to your skin. This is going to make a big difference.
So the other day, I tested it out. I flew all the way from Vegas to Sacramento, drank some hydrogen water afterwards. Zero jet lag, nothing. This shit works.
I've never felt better, honestly. This is probably the best I felt in years.
I'm off all this stuff. I've never felt better in my life. And this is why I do this.
Oh, you're definitely going to feel the difference.
Awesome. Well, hopefully you enjoyed that little sizzle reel, as we call it. And there are some really amazing people that use ECHO water. And it's not only because of the performance of the product, but it's because we stand behind the product as well. No one is perfect, and no company is perfect, and no product is perfect. We do everything we can to have any defect be lower than 1%. And we're able to accomplish that. But that does mean that every once in a while, there will be a defect or a problem. And something that I've heard a lot is people saying, your team was awesome. They took care of us. they swapped out this or took care of that or whatever it was that they needed so that they felt valued as a customer and as a user. That's what we're here to do. So factory defects, you can see down there that it's very, very low. They do happen, but the point of all of it is that we want it to be a minimal thing, and it is a minimal thing. Of all the thousands of units that we make every day, it's very, very small as far as flaws go in the product. But whether it's structural, whether it's performance flaws, cracks, or what have you, we stand behind our products. And you get a 5-year warranty on the ECHO Flask. And so that's amazing. You know, on my iPhone, I get a year. And it's way more money, like 4 times as much as a Flask. And yet we stand behind our products for 5 years. And guess what? We give a charging block and a charging cable. What a new concept, right? I couldn't believe that when they stopped putting these in with our phones and we had to start buying our own charging blocks. But it is what it is, right? Here we stand behind a product for 5 years and are happy and honored to take care of any issues you may experience in that 5 years as it relates to factory defects, performance impacting flaws, or structural damage. Now, what are people saying about this, the extra protection, the Echo Care, as we call it? What are they saying about this? Life happens, and therefore Echo has you covered. So understand that this Echo Care protection, it covers 1 year of the damage. It's basically like a damage protection with your phones or what have you. 1 full replacement during the coverage time. So in other words, if you dropped your flask from 8 feet for some reason and it actually broke, then you could get 1 full replacement. You end up with fast service. So very friendly, very fast service, no proration, none of it. So of course you have a 5-year warranty, and that you have, but this is the Echo Care, which is extra protection. You know, it's kind of like having that extra protection we can put on our vehicles where it goes longer than the factory warranty or what have you. In this case, it's just giving you extra protection so that it's a full replacement if you damage your product. That's really what it comes down to. Here you have service and technical support. Becca Cavern, who is amazing. She manages customer service. And Trace Waterland, who is also amazing, manages tech support. And so we are here with a pledge to let you know that you are important to us. We wouldn't be here without you. And we want to make sure that your journey with Echo branded products is going to be the best journey possible. That not only are we going to increase your health, improve your health, but we're going to have the entire ownership process be positive, be wonderful. Now, the future of hydrogen water is here. The ECHO Flask, you can see here, has an app that is controlled to it. And I'm going to play a little video because we have continually improved the app, and it's being improved again and again. We constantly want to innovate. We constantly want to do it. So let me play you this little video that will help you understand about the app.
Did you know there's an app that tracks how much water you drink throughout the day and connects to the most powerful hydrogen water bottle on the market? You can set personal goals or group goals with friends, and the app will send you reminders to drink your water. This is the Echo Water app, and is free to download on the Apple and Google Play app stores. It connects and controls the only smart hydrogen water bottle, the ECHO Flask, to maximize your hydration. You can customize things like the color of the lighting, the beep sounds, and remotely start and adjust your hydrogen cycles. You also get access to fitness protocols, training videos, plus information and direct support for your flask. This is revolutionary for anyone looking to improve their health and performance.
Okay, so that is the app. And I'll tell you, I've used it. I haven't had issues with it, but they're improving it as we speak yet again, they're always improving it just so it's better and better and better. And I hope you all caught, like, there are LEDs inside of the flask, and you can change the colors, like 14 different color options. It depends on your mood, depends on what your favorite color is, whatever your criteria is. You can have the lights that are shining into the water be whatever you want them to be on that list of 14. So there are many different things that you can do with it. It's an amazing product. Literally, I carry it every day around when I'm traveling. And when I'm home, of course, I'm using the ECHO water. In my home, I have our ECHO Pure whole home filtration system for my whole home. So every bit of water in my house is contaminant free. That means it's softened and we've removed all the contaminants. Then under my sink in my kitchen is the ECHO RO and then the ECHO Ultimate, because of course my wife wants the best machine that we make. And so that's what I have in my home. But when I'm traveling, the ECHO Flask is definitely my travel companion. I wouldn't go anywhere without it. It absolutely works every day, never a problem. Just throw it in my backpack and run with it. And so that's great. So again, the ECHO Flask is the only smart hydrogen bottle. Personalized wellness goals, community connection, science meets the simplicity, seamless integration. What's next? So as we increase this, one thing that's changing is currently with your app, you have to connect it to the bottle, but we're changing that so it will stay connected and it will update the bottle as you use your flask. It'll update your app to know that you've consumed water. And so that's one of the things that people have asked for that we're doing. And we want to make sure that we keep up supporting you and with the needs that you have. So why track your water and your hydrogen? Well, clearly you have a 25% lower risk of stroke when you're properly hydrated. 1% to 2% of dehydration can impair your cognition. Now, what isn't here is the fact that I read a study 7 years ago from the University in Utah indicating that proper hydration can lower the risk of breast cancer by 80%. 80%. So drinking water and being properly hydrated can lower the risk of breast cancer by 80%. And clearly other types of cancer as well. But this particular study had to do with breast cancer. So imagine that, just drinking water and being properly hydrated. So when we look down at heart and metabolism, it will decrease hypertension for those with hydrogen water. It will decrease heart failure rates for those using hydrogen water. So clearly, now in my lecture today that I gave at IdeaFit, I shared 10 different studies having to do with athletes, having to do with fatigue, having to do with the fact that people that were running, people that were participating in sports, they didn't have the fatigue level that the people drinking the placebo water, when they drank ECHO water, hydrogen water, they had lower fatigue. They had lower or less recovery times. So hydrogen gas reduces recovery times, reduces inflammation, reduces all of the recovery mechanism down to a fraction of the time when you're an athlete. So, of course, I was presenting all this data, and we were also talking about the power that the body is able to exert. It was increased in every study where it was tested when people were drinking water with hydrogen gas. And so every aspect of life is improved when we talk about drinking ECHO water with hydrogen gas in it. You can see oxidative stress benefits, 43% reduction in oxidation markers in an 8-week study when drinking hydrogen water. Athletic recovery, I just talked about that. It decreased lactate and fatigue with hydrogen water intake. You had an increase in endurance and recovery efficiency. Metabolic syndrome, 100% reversal in 24 weeks from drinking hydrogen water. 7 pounds average weight loss in a 24 weeks, a study of drinking hydrogen water. So all of these things are powerful, wonderful trends. And again, this is why we should be telling everyone about ECHO Hydrogen Water.